related to the preparation of these sonatas when you need to perform them in a recital. How is the preparation? How you are trying to affront this huge challenge?
Well, I would start with the fact that I do not analyze beforehand. Neither did Schnabel. Schnabel had the opinion that one should know a piece very well in order to let the piece tell you what is special about it and what is different to other pieces. It's relatively easy to analyze a piece from the music. But it needs a much wider experience to find out what the particular piece has contributed. Every masterpiece actually is giving you something new. What is the new thing? The newness for me has remained a criteria. Wagner said, children do something new. When I go back into the music and see in which environment pieces were composed, and it interests me how things stand out. It interests me to imagine what it meant when Eroica was first performed, or when they tried to perform Beethoven's string quartets, which hardly anybody then understood, and which needed another 100 years to really get near to us. And to Stravinsky exclaimed that the Große Fuge is the most perfect piece of music ever composed. While in the 19th century, Große Fuge was left out even of string quartet cycles. But how to prepare a piece? Well, analysis is good, but it is the result of familiarity with the piece, not the input. I give you an example of something that is special in the piece. If you take the first movement of Beethoven's G major concerto, there are several things that are unique. The beginning, the layout of the first chord. Why has the third been tripled? Because later on, when the orchestra comes in, it is B major. Mm-hmm. It's already foreshadowed. What is special within the sonata movement, the first movement? There are 3 short episodes which come only once and are unique and are not related directly to anything else. They are completely mysterious. These things interest me in analysis.
And how a performer can conceive this difference between these short pieces where all drama is concentrated, and in the sonatas where you have also drama, but that huge structure. And
well, different. Actually, in the instrumental music, he usually needed a lot of space. There is not, apart from the moments musicaux, not much concentration in this way. There is some concentration in Lieder, but don't think that Schubert had a lot of time to think about what he was doing. He was doing so much, such an enormous amount of things. It was coming to him. Not uncritically, he sometimes went back to the piece. But this is so phenomenal. Just to write down these pieces would probably take longer than his life, if somebody else would try to do it. So with some geniuses, they can think 10 times as fast as we can. They can think several compositions next to one another. And they can retain them.
Can I ask you, one thing related with the piano concerto. Why do you think Schubert didn't write a piano concerto?
He was 31 years when he died.
But it's true.
Yeah. He may have done one later. I regret it, yes. But yeah.
Do you think he will write?
And also, he was not a concert performer. I mean, he was a brilliant, very good performer of his own songs, but not of his solo piano works.
But was one moment when he composed Wanderer, almost he was feeling himself, was able to...
He had an enormous virtuoso instinct, as it shows, yes, in the Wanderer Fantasie, which is, by the way, when one talks about innovation, one of the most innovative pieces of its time. He took one short motif, which is the base for all the movements. He took the four parts of sonata form and the four movements of a sonata and blended them together for the first time, something that Liszt later did in his B minor sonata. And he created a kind of piano writing that needed different instruments and different players.
Yeah, and also Liszt become the...
Well, Liszt was just the right person to get there and embrace, particularly also this piece. Yeah.
In piano concerto later on, he became Wanderer in a piece for piano and orchestra. Indeed.
Yes, but I played both. I think the original is much better, okay. Because the point is to turn the piano into an orchestra.
Have you tried playing Schubert's work on a contemporary, on a kind of piano that was contemporary with Schubert?
Yes, certainly, yes.
Yes.
Yes, but it's virtually impossible with the Wanderer Fantasie.
Uh-huh.
The instrument for the Wanderer Fantasie needed to be created. Don't think that a piano composer necessarily writes exactly for the sound of his own piano. Most great piano composers were instrumental composers, vocal composers, ensemble composers, except Chopin. So many of all these musical trends and sounds and timbres of instruments and the tutti of the orchestra and the sound of the choir were also entered the piano music. And this, I think it's much more interesting to find these things than to limit oneself to the very narrow limitations of the contemporary instrument.
Is there any moment in your life when you decided to focus more on Schubert music?
Oh, I have played the Wanderer Fantasie since I was a teenager. And then the impromptus and then the sonatas, that all came sort of logically. And then cycles were formed of 4 recitals that included the important works of the last 7 years. But whether Schubert would like my playing, that I would be very interested to know. But one can always do one's best and not think there is a piece. Now I'm playing it my way. This is the absolutely wrong approach. Because it means that you listen to other people and say they have played it like that, they have played it like that. I have to play differently in order to be recognizable or to be original. You have to do justice to the score in the first place. Most people, 95% of people, cannot properly read a score. And then, of course, you are adding your own own feelings, but always, hopefully, in the awareness that the composer is first, and he usually knows better. And depending on which composer has written something down, in Beethoven, if you miss his markings, you lose a great deal. And he was very precise in his markings. I would give him 5% of question mark. I would give Schubert 10%, because he was not so much a performer who has heard his pieces performed. Then there are composers which are very vague and change their markings all the time, like Chopin did. And there are others like György Kurtak, a great living composer, who knows exactly to the hair's breadth about each note he composed, what it means, how it should sound, and can demonstrate it.
There's a lot of young generation here who they would love to become. There is a lot of young generation sitting here and here.
50% of the hall is from musicians.
Yes, for the young generation, first of all, read the score properly. And don't think this is easy. It means not only reading what is there in the best edition, but also understanding the markings with each composer, I mean, giving them different meanings. And then you go from there. And if you try to do justice to what the composer wrote, and the result is original, that's fine. If you go out to be original and different other things, that's not good. Forget it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.